because every studio was like, well, the Wiz didn't make money, and so
Right.
we can't invest a lot of money into. And it was like, and comics aren't that different. I mean, this is a capitalist society, and it's all about the money. I didn't want anyone holding that over me. I didn't want a company like Dark Horse, well, we took a chance on you and it didn't sell well, so we're not gonna. And it's like, well, why didn't it sell well? Did it not sell well because it sucks, or did it not sell well because your marketing department didn't know what to do with it? And most retailers in the U.S. are busy stockpiling Batman and X-Men,
Right.
and don't want to spend that money. So sometimes you just got to take a chance on yourself. And I happen to be in a position where I had the money to pay the artist up front. So
Mm.
all I had to worry about was, once it was done, raising the money to pay for the printing and to reimburse myself.
Young Junk! Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission. 2 men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. And as always, I'm joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
We are in July, which means we are still in the summer of comics.
Yes.
Where Vincent and I welcome some of our favorite comic book creators, writers, and artists onto the show to review movies that they want to talk about. And we have someone who we are huge fans of,
Yes.
but look, I'm just putting it out there. Vincent's heart is 9 times big right now.
I'm like the Grinch.
You are the Grinch.
In the last minute of the movie.
Yes, you are.
Like, I've got the sled and that weird getup that he has with the dog.
Yes, and you're
above
holding
my
the,
head.
holding the sled.
Above my head. So
Because Vince has all the toys. It
All
is
the toys.
Christmas for Vincent
Absolutely.
today. As we welcome our very special guest. He is a fantastic award-winning comic book writer and creator of the sensational comic book series Bitterroot.
Yes.
And he just finished a successful Kickstarter for a true crime neo-noir comic series, The Death of Bobby Hart.
Yes.
And he is a man with a secret passion to do a Tubi podcast. He is none other than David F. Walker.
Yes.
Welcome to the mission.
Welcome, David. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. And you only touched the tip of the iceberg, because I'm really like one of the most interesting people anyone's ever going to meet. And like, but a lot of people don't know about my love of film, right? And not just like love, like obsession. I used to have a zine back in the 90s, and it hasn't been officially announced yet, but I checked, and it's like within the trade world, it's been announced. I have a book coming out next year about the history of Black film.
Nice.
And so, and that's sort of how I stumbled across your show. Because I was like, yo, wait a sec. Like, yo, who are these people? And are they using Oscar Micheaux's name in vain? Like,
right. A good question.
That is not a name that you hear regularly as it relates to film. So I'm just honored to be here. Thank you. I really, really appreciate this.
Absolutely.
Well, we're honored to have you. And the reason why David is here is not only because he is one of our favorite comic book creators, but he also created, to me, this is the origin story of John Shaft.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In a fantastic comic book, Shaft. And that is why he is here tonight to review from 1972, Shaft's Big Score.
Yeah.
Starring none other than Richard Roundtree and Moses Gunn.
And fan favorite Julius Lester.
Yes, that's
Don't
right.
leave Julius Lester out.
We will not.
Yeah,
we will not.
Yeah, as we've said many times, I've always liked Shaft, but I never got I never got Shaft as Shaft outside of the blaxploitation thing. And I refer to it as a graphic novel, even though I got it, a complicated man, I got it. And then,
Yeah, no, it's I feel the same way, man. I mean, I love the movies, but all three of them, including Shaft in Africa. I don't count the John Singleton movie, and I don't count the Tim Story movie,
Mhm.
and
okay.
and the TV show is is what it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's at the end of the day, before we started, before we went live, I had said I've been watching a lot of Kojak, and all you have to do is watch like 4 episodes of Kojak to realize how bad Shaft was as a TV
Yeah.
show.
Yes.
They just didn't they didn't get the character, and my love of the character actually didn't come from the movies, it came from the books. And so
Okay.
Okay.
that was what I brought to the I wrote 2 graphic novels and
Hmm.
then a novel for them. And so I guess the people call me like the Shaft expert just because I've written him.
Well, did you
Yes.
actually pitch to do the book, or did they come to you?
I pitched them. It was this was at a time when my comic career had just gotten started, and it had gotten started kind of late in comparison to a lot of other people who work in the industry.
Mhm.
And so I had been studying how other people made names for themselves, and one of them was they would get assigned some sort of licensed property, and they
Yep.
would
Hmm.
they would
Yep.
really shine. And so I made a list of all the things I wanted to do as a writer that I wanted to prove that I was capable of doing. And then I made a list of different properties across different genres, and I was like looking at characters from Marvel and characters from DC, knowing I wasn't going to get those, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's like,
Right.
and then I was like, I could do something really interesting with Shaft. The book I wanted to adapt more than anything else was The Spook Who Sat by the Door. Um,
Interesting.
and I was trying to get the rights to that, and I just couldn't make it work. And I was like, I wonder if I could get Shaft. I wonder if I could figure out how to do that. So I started investigating, and then once I figured out who had the publishing rights, then I just needed to find a comic book publisher that I could convince to pay the bill and then hire me to write it. And
There you
and
go.
and so that's how it all came together.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I know maybe there are some stops, but talking about your Marvel work, your Power
Yeah.
Man and Iron Fist run is, in my mind, one of the most underappreciated runs of the past 10 years. So
Yeah, no, thank you.
big
I
fan.
mean, and Shaft did exactly what I wanted it to do.
Hmm.
It shaved off about 2 years of that process that it takes to get work at Marvel and DC. It got me. It never sold that particularly well, and I've been in the industry long enough to understand how and why titles like that don't sell. But it caught the attention of all the right people,
Yeah.
Right.
and it helped me build a really specific type of fan base that I was like, okay, like these are the folks that are gonna stick with me to a
Right.
certain
Mhm.
extent as I move to
Absolutely.
other spaces. Um, and then Power Man and Iron Fist was really a dream come true. That was a title that I was reading as a kid in the 70s and 80s that I really, really loved. Like, I mean, I'm old enough that I remember when Luke Cage had his own series and
And
Iron Fist had his own
That's right.
series,
right.
and when they brought them together, and I was one of those kids that was like, "Yo, they're together," and this will wreck my nerd cred because I can't remember if it was issue 48 or 49 that was the first issue that combined the two,
Hmm.
but I had that issue. I
Mhm.
Right.
had a pretty solid run of that particular title, and so when Marvel asked me to write that, I felt like, oh man, my childhood dream is here, it's come true. And because I always had these ideas of how I wanted to write those two characters ever since I was a kid, and I was able to bring a lot of that to it. And the sad thing is that now, unless you have the Marvel app, what is it, the Marvel Unlimited,
Hmm.
and I think you get it on still get them on Comixology, but physically, every single one of those issues, those books are out of print. The
Yeah.
trade paperbacks are out of print, and so I just sort of, you know, you don't want to get me started on that because then that'll I could go off on that. Um, it was sad to me when the 50th anniversary of Luke Cage rolled around and there was no like
Nobody mentioned it.
Nobody. That's right.
nobody did anything. And I was like, I was reaching out to Marvel. I was like, oh, you have this entire run that, I did most of it with Sanford Green. Let's do
Mm-hmm.
a collection, like one of those epic collections,
Yeah.
and put it out there. But I don't know if I don't think it's me personally. I don't think anyone has a problem with me personally over at Marvel because I still do work for them from time to time. But I just think that it's like it's not a priority for
Right.
them. And I think that the fans who want to see it aren't vocal enough. I tell this to people at conventions all the time. They reach out to me online. I'm like, yo, if you want to see a collection like that, it's up to you to make it
Yes.
happen.
You got to
Right.
make it happen. You got to
Right.
be vocal about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now speaking in I know we gotta move, but speaking
Have
of
fun.
you and licensed or pre-existing characters, you are on my. I haven't read it yet, but it's on the pile with. I'm going to reread Huckleberry Finn, and my wife just finished our copy of James. But
Mm.
Big Jim and the White Boy. How did that come about?
That came about. That was crazy. So I had just finished. I'd done this nonfiction book, the Black Panther Party. It was the history of the Black Panther Party.
Mm-hmm.
I actually hadn't even finished the book yet. I was doing it for a publisher, 10 Speed Press, which is a division of Penguin Random House. And the editor came to me and said, we're thinking about doing retellings of classic American literature. And, we were wondering if you might be interested in doing Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from Jim's perspective. And I was like, would I? And I had years ago, I had started a book, a novel, and it was just called Nigger Jim.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, and this was before Django Unchained came out. And it was a retelling of Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from Jim's point of view, but it was a straight up blaxploitation, like he was a crazed killer, like
Oh,
he
God.
had rabies, that sort of thing.
So it
Um,
wasn't James.
It wasn't James
It
at
wasn't
all.
James.
But it had kind of stalled out, and it was just sort of sitting around collecting dust. But when my editor mentioned this possibility to me, and I had never thought about doing it as a graphic novel, I was like, yeah, I could do that without even really thinking about what the book itself was going to be like. And then it just sort of grew from there.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Kwame Anderson, who was my collaborator on Black Panther Party, we got him on board, and he was still drawing the Black Panther Party at this point.
Mhm.
So all of this sort of dragged out the production process and the release schedule. But yeah, no, I at this point, I've said this before. I've said this publicly. Like, if I was smarter and had more savvy, that would have been my retirement book. That would have been the book that I said, I'm done with graphic novels and comics because I'm never going to be able to do better than that.
Right.
But I wasn't smart enough to do that. So now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to top that thing. So
Right.
And thus, that's why we have the Death of Bobby Hart,
Death of Bobby Hart.
which is
well,
the new
yeah,
book.
no, and the Death of Bobby Hart was also an old project that, you get involved in the industry, and like people want to work with you, but they only want to work with you like on certain terms.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, their term.
And the Death of Bobby Hart was something that nobody was interested in doing, for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which was it wasn't it was never meant to be like a 200-page graphic novel or like a 6-issue miniseries or anything like that. And that's all publishers wanted. And I was like,
Mhm.
well, you're not going to pay me enough to write that, and we're never going to be able to find an artist, and the story's not going to work. It's going to be padded out. Like, this is meant to be the length that it is. And so I just decided at one point, I was like, I have a choice. Either I don't do this book or I either do this book in a way that I feel isn't right for a publisher that isn't listening to what I think will
Right,
work
right.
best,
Mhm.
or I'll do it myself. I may have done it the wrong way. I don't know. We'll find out, because I literally just shipped the last of the Kickstarter rewards yesterday afternoon. It was like nearly 100 degrees out, and I lugged all these, packages to the post office, and
Right. Right.
was like, what was I thinking? I'm like, I ain't got nobody to help me carry this stuff to the post office. So, the things we do for our art.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? But that is you not only taking a betting on yourself, but that's also you recognizing that throughout all of your projects, regardless of how well received you feel they've been, how much they have sold, some are out of print because sons of bitches do it like that. You know what I'm saying? But you still have an audience, and that audience
Mhm.
appreciates you, so that when you put out the alert saying like, hey, I've got this project that I'm working on, people, they chunk down. You were looking for X amount of money on Kickstarter. You got almost 4 times that amount. That
Yep.
means people, they feeling you, bruh.
Yeah, and the thing is what a lot of people don't get is, they're trying to get trying to land a deal. It could be Marvel, it could be DC, it could be Image, it could be any publisher out there. What a lot of people don't understand is, like, you may get that deal,
Yeah,
but if your book doesn't sell well, they're going to use that against you,
that's
right?
right.
Mhm.
And I know you guys have talked about The Wiz in the past, and
Oh
what a
boy,
lot of
yes, we
people,
have.
what so many people don't get is that The Wiz was, it was a financial bomb as far as
Mhm.
Hollywood was concerned, and they use that. Hollywood used that as an excuse to not make black movies for over 10 years.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
like everything that we saw that came out in the 80s and into the early 90s was almost a miracle that it got made, because every studio was like, well, The Wiz didn't make money, and so
Right.
we can't invest a lot of money into, and it was like, and comics aren't that different. I mean, this is a capitalist society and it's all about the money, but it's I didn't want anyone holding that over me. I didn't want a company like Dark Horse, oh, we took a chance on you and it didn't sell well, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not gonna, and it's like, well, why didn't it sell well? Did it not sell well because it sucks? Or did it not sell well because your marketing department didn't know what to do with it? And most retailers in the US are busy stockpiling Batman and X-Men,
Right.
and don't want to spend that money. So sometimes you just got to take a chance on yourself. And I happen to be in a position where I had the money to pay the artist up front. So
Mm,
all I had to worry about was, once it was done, raising the money to pay for the printing and to reimburse myself. And I didn't factor reimbursing myself into the Kickstarter. I was like, that money will come in time. Right now I just want to print it, ship it, get it out there. So
there you go.
All
The
right.
Death of Bobby Hart, inspired by a true story, is a neo-noir crime thriller about the murder of pulp writer Bobby Hart, the undisputed king of the 70s street literature books, such as Pimp Wars and Confessions of a Junkie. The the cover available on Kickstarter by Cannon White is like gorgeous. It is ridiculous, man. This is going to be a 68-page, all new original graphic novella
That's right.
drawn by Dietrich Smith, with spot illustrations by other artists. Really looking forward to when that comes out. Man.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Most definitely. All right, let's get into the show. Thank
All
you,
right.
David, for joining us. And
Yes.
as a fan of the show, you know where we're going. We're going to the emails from our listeners, or as we like to call them.
Missives from the missionaries.
I'm looking forward to this.
All right, we're coming back in 3, 2.
Mrs. from the missionaries, Vincent, David, we got an email from Ron Covington.
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Dear Len and Vincent, Fred Williamson was about his movie star branding after football. He was a trained architect, but got into acting by playing Diane Carroll's boyfriend on Julia, which we are aware of.
Absolutely.
How he wanted a career comparable to Burt Reynolds and was bitter that he didn't crack the mainstream. He
Sure.
takes himself way too seriously. I've met him, charismatic, but the whole leather coat, slim cigar, too cool for school is kind of funny unless you can laugh at yourself. Fred can't. He's done well for himself making low budget fare that he produces. Jim Brown, also an ex-football player and an even better lacrosse player, was the classic proud, tough black guy on screen. His best work was when he played against type, like in Fingers with Harvey Keitel, or in an early Gary Marshall movie, The Grasshopper, as Jacqueline Bisset's man. I disagree. I believe that Jim Brown's best work was in The Hit, where
Yeah.
he was the leading man.
Yeah.
Richard Roundtree, also charismatic, was probably the most humble and personable of the bunch. He was never a bad actor to begin with, just untrained. He learned his craft as time went on and developed into a strong presence on screen. He was particularly effective in Moving On, one of his last films, as Jane Fonda's ex-husband. This film is actually a dark comedy. Richard Roundtree is charming and very believable. The difference between him and the other actors is that he never tried to play an image. He just played the role. Images were thrust upon him, and he seemed to appreciate some of them, but he always remained down to earth. And finally, I've seen all the Shaft films, read all the novels by Ernest Tineman, and seen the 7 episodes of the series. The most interesting novel, Shaft Among the Jews, how's that for a title?
Yeah. Yeah.
About Shaft investigating illegal gem production in New York City's Diamond District is very original. The title would never go over today. You think? The first Shaft movie was the best because Gordon Parks took a 40s detective piece and expertly wove in the black aesthetic using Isaac Hayes' music and Richard Roundtree's clean, proud look. The TV show shrunk the Black Warrior down to a Mannix-style character. Shaft is not Mannix, so it didn't work. But I put it onto you, Vincent and David. What do you think was Richard Roundtree's best performance? Man Friday with Peter O'Toole, Diamonds with Robert Shaw, Charlie One Eye with Roy Thins, or maybe something else? Keep passing the mic, Ron Covington. Well, I feel like before we get into what was Richard Roundtree's best performance, this has opened an unexpected window for us missionaries because before we went live, David F. Walker dropped on us, I am so glad to be here, but I wish I was here last week to talk about 1 down, 2 to go.
Because you have strong feelings.
Yes, very strong feelings, and they're not positive. They're
that's fine. Neither were we. So
yeah, but you weren't negative enough. That was the thing. And
wait a minute. I want you to say that again to the missionaries. I, Len, was not negative enough.
Not even close. When did either of you see 1 down, 2 to go for the first time?
That was actually my first time.
Yeah, that was
seeing
my
it.
first time seeing it.
Okay, so I saw it on VHS in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. And it was one of those movies that I didn't know existed. I didn't, I love Three the Hard Way. You can't see it, but literally the poster above me right now is an original Three the Hard Way poster.
Nice.
I'm not saying Three the Hard Way is a great movie, but I love it.
Sure. They tell the whole plot in the theme song.
Yes. And so when I found out that there had been another movie that they had done, and I've seen Take a Hard Ride, the Western that they did. When I saw that there was another movie and Richard Roundtree was in it, yeah. So this is back in the day when there were still video stores. So I hit every video store I could find till I found a copy of that movie, and then I watched it, and it was like, ugh, it was the worst feeling, and it was and everything you guys said last week and then some, because it was like and it all made sense. And what I loved about your review, it also made sense because it was like, yeah, that movie was 81, 82, right? Like, but it felt like it was 20 years out of date.
Yep.
And not just because of where Eddie Murphy was about to take things, but even just where Richard Pryor had taken stuff with Stir Crazy and Bustin' Loose and all the movies he did in late 70s, early 80s. And it was so tone deaf, and it was a waste of talent. And when we're talking about all four of those actors, all four of them have limitations with what they can do. Um, and it was like it was all on display. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
it was and I, you know, I am a huge Jim Kelly fan, although I recognize his limitations, right?
Okay.
And that fandom comes from seeing him for the first time as a kid in Enter the Dragon, and just like that was the first time I'd seen a black character like that that like didn't make me embarrassed as a child, to be 100% honest, right?
Sure.
Um, but if you saw him for the first time in One Down, Two to Go, you'd be embarrassed. I mean, he's like, isn't he shot and like in his underwear most of the movie?
He is. He is.
And so there was that, but it was also like I think that like that part of what's sad about that movie is that it shows like how tenuous everybody's career was,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and how easily abandoned they were, but how incapable, and this is a really harsh thing to say, because I'm not saying it was their fault that they were incapable of this, but they were incapable of surviving the end of black exploitation and what the 80s brought with it, right?
Yep.
Right. Absolutely.
The role of the black actor changed tremendously by the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And to see those, you guys are talking about like the old dude at the club, right? It was like they're not even the old dude at the club in that movie. They're the old dudes that can't get into the club.
That's
right.
Right.
Across the street from the
Right.
club.
Being sketchy in the parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Baby girl, you need a
so-
ride? It's like, dude.
So I just like, to me, that movie is in so many ways is everything that is wrong, not just with Hollywood itself, but also with, in a lot of ways, with Fred Williamson's career, because like at the end of the day, that movie's his fault,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
He directed it, he wrote it, I'm sure he was producer as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was he probably made through Po' Boy Productions, his company,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna lie, right? I have never seen a movie that Fred Williamson has directed that I
Right.
thought was good.
That's
Absolutely.
very true.
Period. You know, you mentioned Adios Amigo, and that was like that's one of the worst movies ever made.
It
That
really
was-
is.
It
was
really
it's
is.
like The Guy from Harlem and movies like that, you know. And but it's interesting because you would think he would have had an idea how to better utilize everybody and how to get something out of them, and equally important, how like each of them, I think Jim Brown's the only one who seems to know, like, okay, I got this covered.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody else is just going through the motions, and you know, and Roundtree just has a really fascinating career because he you know, it's not just, you were talking about his limited acting chops, and he's an okay actor.
Mhm.
He's been good in some stuff. He was good in I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I really like to do.
I actually like
But
him in Man Friday. And
It-
Man
you know-
Friday seems like something that I would hate tremendously.
Man Friday's not bad. Is that Peter O'Toole in that? Is
Mhm.
who
Yeah,
plays,
yeah.
Robinson Crusoe. Yeah. I didn't like Charlie One Eye at all.
I don't
Um,
think I've ever seen that.
Charlie One Eye is really kind of mean spirited.
Okay.
And then Embassy, which has got a bunch of different titles, is was really bad as well. And you know, there's you know, Roundtree had a he kind of had a reputation going in late 70s, early 80s of like really not wanting to replicate the Shaft role, but
Right.
not getting much else.
Right.
And you know, I only met him once, and it wasn't the most pleasant of experiences.
Oh.
But it was, I can tell you this, that he had an agent who um, never really understood. I feel like he never understood what Roundtree was capable of, and always was trying to get more money and more for his client. And I think that held him back, right? And that happens to a lot of actors. They go with an agent or a manager, and they never break free from that person, and that person will drive a hard bargain to the point where people just walk away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that was part of his. I think that was a lot of what kept him in place, and I think the Shaft TV show was ultimately was a mistake.
Mhm.
and yeah, so and then you get one down, two to go, and it was like, and first of all, why was it one down, two to go? It should have been one down, three to go because there was four of them.
It
So the math
never
doesn't even.
made sense.
Fred-
Even in the movie, when Jim Kelly says, well, it's one down, I guess it's two to go, Richard Roundtree is standing right there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, why are you being disrespectful to not Shaft?
because
You know what it almost feels like? It almost feels like they started the idea was to make the movie with just the original three, the Hardway crew,
it
and then
was.
somehow along the line, like Fred ran into Richard Roundtree at a bar
Right, he
or
got
barbecue
added.
or something.
He ran
And-
into Richard Roundtree at the corner store. You
Yeah.
know, he said, "Oh, what you doing with those cameras? Hey, you want to be in a movie?
Right.
Come on down. We come on down to this stadium. We got all these kung fu people because that's really the only scene that Richard Roundtree is in. He's really only there around the stadium.
Right.
So
And-
that's what happened.
Yeah. So it's again, that movie is such a disappointment because there's first of all, the one good thing about it is more people don't know about it.
That's
it's
the good
obscure enough,
thing.
Yeah.
It's obscure.
but it feels like the swan song of um of blaxploitation. And the truth is that I'm one of those people who believes blaxploitation it didn't die, it faded, and then it just reemerged as something else.
Yeah.
Right.
And what people don't realize that Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon or Tougher Than Leather or Crush Groove, all those movies from the 80s, even 48 Hours, they're all the bastard children of blaxploitation.
Absolutely.
And yet, but nobody remembers one down, two to go because it's that, like, it failed that miserably at what it was supposed to be. They came closer when they did Original Gangsters.
Mhm.
But that movie don't hold up. I don't know the last time you saw it, but it's
I've
like,
not seen it in probably 20 years.
yeah, and
So-
and you'll feel like that when you watch.
Right.
Oh God. All right, let's keep it moving. Thank you very much, Ryan, for that email.
Thank you, Ron.
We've got another email. This is from Michael Lockett.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
What's up, my brothers and fellow missionaries? It is hotter than July. Is it hotter than July is supposed to be, or is it just me? I hope the summering is off the chain for you both and your families. I was excited when you announced you were reviewing One Down, Two to Go. I had never seen it and had also only heard about it in passing. I couldn't put my finger on why I was so bothered by it while watching it until you two put it into context of it being an early 80s movie and Eddie Murphy was about to blow up. They must have thought black people were only watching black films in the 70s and early 80s. Why would any of us watch The Godfather 1 and 2, Star Wars, New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, Jaws, Rocky, or Alien, to name a few? They needed to really up their game, and they looked like they didn't try hard enough. The Wayback Machine dropped me off with you two as you dug into Heidi Ho.
Heidi Ho.
Heidi Ho.
Yeah, Cab Calloway.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, for those like me who love it when the film is bad, and you two can go to work on all manners of topics, we got apex predator funny Len and Vincent. The Ricky Gervais left turn or U-turn or brick wall meeting with Jesus over that jokes were funny as hell. Heidi Ho to me was sad to watch. Cab Calloway was always so full of life and vigor every time I saw him, but not this time. He looked broken, and that seemed to cast a shadow on this movie that gave me the ick. Ugh.
Yeah, because he's a little older in Heidi Ho.
Yeah.
Remember?
I was reading part 13 of Philadelphia.
All right.
That's your book.
Yeah, Rodney Barnes.
And listening to Cannonball Adderley, one of my dad's favorites.
All right. You was having a real black evening.
And I stopped cold. The music was telling me one story, and I was reading another. That epiphany started me pondering which artistic genre makes the best storytellers. Then I whimsically questioned to myself if you, Len and Vincent, had to create the blackety black writing room of the gods, but had to have a novelist, a musician or lyricist, a fine artist, an essayist or cultural critic, and a film or television director to be the showrunner, who would you pick, living or dead? All the best, Michael Lockett. That is a great
It's a
question for our
great
good
question. I
friend
was about
David.
to say, you want to handle you want to crack at that, David?
No, no, that's a lot
Yeah,
of. Uh,
he said he asked
it's
Len and
actually a
Vincent.
great question. It's a great question, and I'm thinking about it, and I was like, wow, well, writer for me, because I'm thinking about it in terms of like creating like film, right?
Yes.
Not
Mm-hmm.
just creating literary art. Because if it was literary art, I would go James Baldwin all the way, right? He's my
Mm-hmm.
favorite writer. Uh, but I think Walter Mosley is who I would pick if I was trying to do a show or a movie sort of thing. And music, Stevie Wonder, circa 1973, 74.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
although I could also go back to John Coltrane, right?
Mhm.
Like where do you want to go? What type of music do you want?
There's a lot of places
Um,
you can go.
there's it like what this question is asking is like it's fantasy football
Mm-hmm.
that in some ways will leave you both elated and depressed,
Yeah.
Right.
because so many of these people aren't around anymore. You
Yeah.
know, uh, I don't know. I'm trying to think who else I would go with. I mean,
The
I
first
feel like
musician that came to my mind, honestly, I mean, Stevie is a natural,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Yeah.
didn't want to go to like that easy, like that's low hanging fruit. So
Yeah.
I actually thought of Nina Simone.
Mm.
Oh,
I thought I did put Nina Simone in
yeah.
that room with Octavia Butler.
Mm.
Those are the first two that came to my mind.
So
Yeah.
I forgot all the categories.
Well, you're looking at you need a novelist.
Novelist, I'm gonna go Walter Mosley's predecessor, and I'm gonna say Chester Himes.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be
Okay.
coming up later this evening.
A musician or lyricist.
Musician or lyricist, I'm gonna go Slick Rick.
Okay. Okay.
Storyteller.
Yeah, he
Okay.
is.
Mm-hmm.
A fine artist.
Fine artist, I just forgot his name. Sugar Shack.
Ernie Barnes.
Ernie
Ernest
Barnes. Go with
Yeah.
Ernie Barnes.
Nice. An essayist or cultural critic.
David, that's where I'm gonna stick Baldwin.
James Baldwin. Yes, that's
where I'm
true.
sticking Baldwin.
And then a film or television director to be your showrunner.
Film or television director. Sometimes I worry he doesn't get enough credit. I don't know him personally,
Okay.
but he knows TV really well. I'd like to see what Ernest Dickerson would do with a show.
Oh,
if
you
he's
sitting in
able to,
high
like-
cotton with Ernest Dickerson.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with Stan Lathan,
Okay.
Ooh.
Another good choice.
just because I know he knows how to keep the trains running.
Yep.
And you know, like you got the real kind of tours and all the other spots. I feel like Stan Lathan to keep things running.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I actually was thinking knowing television as well
Mm-hmm.
and knowing how to put together a room. And I guess I was going with either Jordan Peele or Ava DuVernay
Ava DuVernay's a good one.
because she knows how to put together a
Yeah.
room.
I mean, hell, Shonda Rhimes.
Shonda Rhimes is good too.
Yeah, again, you gotta keep the trains running, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Shonda Rhimes is good too. But then I was surprised. I thought you were going to say Barry Jenkins,
Barry Jenkins hasn't done a lot of TV,
but he's done some.
and at the risk of because I love Barry Jenkins, but I'm also a complicated man. I didn't like Underground Railroad,
Okay.
so
Okay.
Yeah, I only saw the pilot, and then it was fine, but it didn't bring me back. So
yeah.
I would the interesting thing about both Ava DuVernay and Jordan Peele, I've only met one of them, and I overall I don't have problems with the work that they do, but I wonder sometimes I look at both of them right now where they are in their careers, and there's some stuff that they've both done that have made me go, oh, somebody needed to say no to them. And and that's why I like Ernest Dickerson. Always, he's never been a showrunner, but he is him and Clark. Was it Clark Johnson?
Clark
Mhm.
Johnson,
Yeah,
yeah,
Clark Johnson.
that's a good
Are
one too.
Clark
are
Johnson's a
two
good pull.
when it comes to TV directing.
Yes,
Like
Mm-hmm.
like they're it. Like
yeah,
you, it's difficult to know who good TV directors are a lot of time because we don't think of TV directors the way we think of film directors.
Right.
But whenever I see Ernest Dickerson's name or Clark Johnson's name show up in the credits of a show, I'm always like, okay, I'm going to pay extra attention to this episode.
yeah.
Right.
And those episodes 95% of the time are better than the other shows in that run. So this is a really good question though. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like, because it's also since it is fantasy football, it has me trying to also think outside the box, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So Slick Rick is like, that makes me go, well, what about Rakim? Like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
so
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and and the person I think a person we left out who, I don't know what's going on with this career right now, but I think Cheo Coker did an amazing job, especially with that first season of Luke Cage.
That was the
Um,
name
Look,
I actually was trying to think of.
my extension of your underrated Power Man and Iron Fist comment
Yeah.
was I was hoping that Luke Cage could have continued and eventually become that.
It was, yeah. I mean, it's fascinating to me because I only know Cheo in passing, and
Mhm.
and I like his work. And now having been at least somewhat involved in the world of Marvel, and this was Marvel Netflix, which was different than the MCU, you begin to understand how difficult it is to get things across or how
Yeah.
to get them
Right.
done. And Luke Cage happens to be one of those characters that like the people on high all think they know better than you do as the creator, and so they're always forcing you to pump the brakes. They're always forcing you to change stuff. I don't know how much of that Cheo had to put up with, but I know that in the comics, especially after the Power Man and Iron Fist run was done, I did a brief run on a Luke Cage solo series,
Yeah.
and that was like, you can probably still see the scars from me banging my head against the wall because it was like it went from Power Man and Iron Fist being a childhood dream come true to Luke Cage being the reality of adulthood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
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 So
Very true.
But thank you, Michael. Good question.
yeah, that was a great one.
That was a great question, Michael.
right.
Thank you very much. Real quick aside, I'm seeing in the chat that we're having some audio issues going in and out.
Yeah, I
Just want to
got
make you
I'm
aware.
not hearing anything on my end, nor when I check the stream. So it's either restream or our internet connection or their internet connection.
Okay, it
Okay.
actually could be internet connection because we have a very bad storm going on outside here in
We do.
Philadelphia. So that may be causing the audio going in and out. So we apologize for that, missionaries. We will, because everything seems fine on our end.
Right,
We're
and-
checking with our good friend Dylan.
And God willing, the creek don't rise. This won't affect the podcast.
Yes. So,
But thank you for
letting us know. And
real
thank you
time.
for
I
your
got
diligence.
one from my wife too. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
So
Well, that means it's real. Okay.
yes,
That's exactly what it means.
yes,
That means it's real.
exactly.
I can't hear you.
You saw? I checked.
I saw.
Like I saw. Checked.
I saw. I
Right.
saw. All right.
All right.
Apparently, usually we review a movie and we'll get one email that's about the movie.
Sure.
And then everyone's talking about everything else.
Right.
We got an email from Michael Sykes.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
Hello, Len, Vincent, David, and my fellow missionaries. That 1982 film, One Down, Two to Go.
A lot of passion.
Man, it was sitting right in the pocket when y'all mentioned the sunset on legends like Jim Kelly and Fred Williamson, and the sunrise on our next wave, Eddie Murphy, Denzel Washington coming strong off Carbon Copy in 81 and rolling into St. Elsewhere in 82,
Yeah.
and Forrest Whitaker popping up in Fast Times at Richmond High that same year. Vincent, you nailed it calling Fred the old man in the club. Well, that same dry-ass persona showed up 20 years later in a movie called On the Edge, starring Fred, Jim Brown, Ice-T, Ron O'Neal, Bernie Casey. It's not original gangsters. Then I caught some real Black Summer Love, Crooklyn,
Yeah.
ATL, Roll Bounce,
Mhm.
and The Inkwell.
Yeah.
After watching The Inkwell, I scoped for a Micheaux Mission review and ain't see one.
Yeah.
Micheaux Mission stays silent.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these days, but I feeling a little nervous Mr. Len ain't gonna dig it. Might straight up hate it.
Oh, Lynn's gonna like Inkwell. We've talked about Inkwell. Inkwell is real brown.
Yeah, I like The Inkwell.
Yeah, Inkwell is AJ Johnson, Phyllis Stickney, Vanessa Bell Calloway.
Okay.
Inkwell is a problem.
Yes.
Inkwell is actually a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
yeah.
As always, stay real, stay Black, stay strong. Right
Yeah.
on, brothers. Love your fan, Michael Sykes.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. We appreciate that and appreciate you sharing your thoughts on One Down,
One down to the go.
to go. All right. That has been our emails. If you want to share your thoughts, please feel free. Send us your emails at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. And now it is time for the Game of Kings.
The Game of Kings.
This is what you have been waiting for, David F. Walker. It is time for 6 Degrees of Derville Martin.
All right. Yeah, here you go.
3, 2.
6 Degrees of Derville Martin, where I present Vincent with 2 actors, and he has 6 films or less to connect them to Derville Martin, a man who was here for the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. He's even here now. You just don't know it.
He is.
Because you can't see him.
He is. He's everywhere.
All right. And you have a lifeline
I do.
in David F. Walker.
I do.
Keeping it in theme, we are going to be reviewing Shaft's big score tonight here on the Micheaux Mission.
Okay.
Which stars Richard Roundtree.
It does. It
So,
does.
Vincent, I ask you to connect Derville Martin to these 2 other famous Richards.
Okay.
Starting with number 1 in 6 films or less, connect Derville Martin to
2.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh, Richard Dreyfuss.
However,
However, what?
you cannot use the film for which he is celebrating the 50th anniversary of
I'm 100% ignoring you.
Jaws.
I'm absolutely using Jaws. I'm not listening to you about this. Of course I'm using Jaws.
You can't use Jaws.
I can absolutely use Jaws. I'm using Jaws. How you not going to use Jaws on the 50th anniversary of Jaws? And I was just about to go into how much I love. Here's a funny thing. If you remember last week, I don't know if we talked about this on air or not. I told you that we were going to show my son Adam Jurassic Park.
We didn't. Nope.
Yeah, I
don't think we did.
I don't know if we were on camera or not. Right. So my son wants he's 9, David, and he wants to see the new Jurassic Park. But then we were like, it might be too intense. So he said, well, let's show him the first one. And I don't think I've seen Jurassic Park from beginning to end in maybe a decade.
Okay.
And you forget just how good
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park is. Like you realize, Spielberg, like for all the Spielberg, he really is a master director. And then, like it's been all the Jaws talk because of the anniversary. And I watch Jaws every chance I get.
Every
And
chance.
and it really is just this beautiful achievement. And Richard,
Despite all the mishaps.
not despite, because.
Well, true.
Right, like
true.
I think
Yeah,
Spielberg learned
It's even
his
better.
most valuable lesson because Bruce the shark didn't work.
yeah. Right. Less is more.
So he had to learn restraint and he had to learn pacing and everything. And Richard Dreyfuss is magnificent in that. So yeah, of course, Dreyfuss, Roy Schreider is French Connection with Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman, we were just talking about Hit. With,
Yes.
and Diane Carroll is in Hit,
Yes.
who of course is in Paris Blues with Sidney Poitier, who is in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. But I'm gonna play along with you.
Thank you.
So Richard Dreyfuss is also in,
You can stay with Spielberg.
right? Because what's the movie where he dies?
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of.
Well, that's the one. Oh no, because he's also in Close Encounter.
right.
Right. Okay, well, here you go. Because is that the one Bernie Casey's in? Doesn't Bernie Casey play like
No.
a?
He's not in Close Encounters.
But you're getting close. You're getting close.
Who is the black guy in Close Encounters?
The alien?
No. It's a black guy in Close Encounters, right?
Yeah,
There
he
is?
doesn't have any dialogue, but
Right.
and
He's like
and
one of the
he's the-
guards.
Oh,
You're-
well, I don't know.
It's
'cause
not Bernie.
this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going too.
It's not Bernie Casey.
It's not Bernie Casey. They would have given him a line.
No, but this other person is it, and from there's only 2 more steps to D'Urville Martin.
Who is it? You're
Carl
my lifeline.
Weathers. It's Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers is in Close Encounter of the
Yeah. He's like one of the security dudes. He's like one of the military.
One of the
dudes.
military guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's one of the military guys.
Get out of here.
Mhm.
I gotta watch that movie again.
Yeah. So Carl Weathers. You go with Carl Weathers a couple of ways, but let's just go ahead. So Carl Weathers. What do I do with Carl Weathers? So Carl Weathers is in Rocky 3
Okay.
with Mr. T. Mr. T is of course in of course Mr. T, of course. I said of course like everyone thinks about this. Is of course in Penitentiary 2 with Rudy Ray Moore, who is in Dolomite with D'Urville Martin.
Very good.
There
Vincent.
you go.
Very good. And you used your lifeline.
And I use my lifeline
expertly.
Yes.
That was good. I would have gone Close Encounters, Carl Weathers in Bucktown with Fred Williamson.
Oh
and
yeah.
then you're there.
There you go.
There you go.
I
Yeah,
for-
that's the
I
movie.
forgot he was in
'Cause
Bucktown.
that's the movie where he's kind of like just like on the side.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's on his way to
Right,
Rocky.
because you can't take your eyes off of him.
Is that the same way in Friday Foster? Like there's like 3, 4 he did, and then Rocky comes along, and it's but even after Rocky, there's still these little bits and pieces of like Close Encounters where it's like, what is he doing there? And then you're trying to figure out, well, when did they film this?
Exactly.
Right,
sequence?
exactly.
You know, it was probably
Exactly.
before Rocky came
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good, Vincent.
All right.
All right. Next.
All right.
This might be a little challenging.
Okay.
In 6 films or less,
Mm-hmm.
connect D'Urville Martin to
2.
Richard Chamberlain.
Oh, the Shogun. Here's where I'm cheating a little bit with Richard Chamberlain, though. Because I just watched the Towering Inferno.
Oh,
About a month ago.
man. I just watched that too.
We probably watched it at the same time.
I just watched that movie
Yeah, he's
too.
in the Towering Inferno. But you know what will be interesting? Again, I mentioned Chester Himes, and so Chester Himes has been on my mind today, for which you can probably figure out. And the thing about Chester Himes, all right, so this is what we're going to do. D'Urville Martin is in 5 on the Black Hand Side with
Leonard Jackson.
no, not
No.
Leonard Jackson. He's only in there basically as an extended cameo, but he's sick.
Oh,
Because I'm going to Cotton Comes to Harlem.
Godfrey Cambridge.
Godfrey Cambridge. He's in 5 on the Black Hand Side with Godfrey Cambridge. Godfrey Cambridge is in Cotton Comes to Harlem with Raymond St. Jacques.
Yes.
Raymond St. Jacques is in What's our body horror movie with the white man, the black?
Oh,
Not
Oh,
Change of
Change of
Habit.
Mind?
That's the
Change
Elvis
of
movie.
Mind.
Change of Mind.
yeah.
With Leslie Nielsen. 'Cause
Yes.
remember, Leslie Nielsen is so good in that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you forget he was a serious actor, because then he becomes a
No.
comedic actor in Naked Gun, which he's in with O.J. Simpson, who's in The Towering Inferno with Richard Chamberlain.
Look at you.
Well,
That was good.
Look, I just saw Towering Inferno like a month ago, and I said, "Oh, it's Shogun."
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fun movie.
Dude, I love those movies. You know, I love the disaster movies.
That's what it. That's
I love the look. I would besides the fact that I just don't like cruises and stuff. The Poseidon Adventure has kept me off a cruise since I was a kid. Get on there and they flipping boats over.
I know. I love the Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, how can you not love the
I
Poseidon
love
Adventure?
the Poseidon Adventure. I love.
I like beyond the Poseidon Adventure. I know you're not
Pushing
real.
it.
You're not a real dude.
I mean, well, because that's Michael Caine, right? Isn't that Michael?
Yeah,
Caine?
oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I like action hero Gene Hackman in the Poseidon Adventure. That's what I like. I like Captain Action Gene Hackman.
You know I like swimming Shirley
Shirley Winters.
Shirley Winters.
Shelley Winters.
Shelley Winters. I was on the swim team.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, David.
That's okay. That's okay. Because again, just to be part of this, like I said, before we went live, I was saying that this is like 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin is like watching Jeopardy for me, right? Where I'm just yelling out answers and suggestions, and I had started a thing called 6 Degrees of Starsky and Hutch years ago with the same sort of principle, and but I have to show off. Just indulge me,
Please do.
because when you did Jim Belushi, right? All right. D'Urville Martin is in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier is in Raisin in the Sun with Lou Gossett Jr. Lou Gossett Jr. is in The Principal with Jim Belushi.
That's a good pull.
And I was yelling that at my computer while you were trying to get him. And you kept going, Randy Quaid. And I was like, no, The Principal.
Which, if I remember, wasn't that bad. That's not a bad movie.
It was, that was that sort of fear of a black high school sort of genre that they had in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
With that, Dangerous Minds, which all goes back to Blackboard Jungle, with Sidney Poitier. But yeah, The Principal, that was like they were trying, it was like an exploitation version of Lean on Me.
Right.
And then The Substitute with Tom Berenger, which is
goodness. Oh my goodness.
Which I tried watching recently, and I was like, yo, this movie does not hold up.
No, it does.
I would imagine not. No.
Right.
No. All right. Well done, Vincent.
All right. Well, thank you.
Knocked it out the
Thank you
box.
for the lifeline. Bernie Casey is... I know, we got to go. Can you look up, is Bernie Casey in Starman? No, not Starman. The Man Who Fell to Earth.
All right, let's see. Let's look up the filmography of Bernie Casey.
It'd probably be easier if you just went through The Man Who Fell to Earth and looked for the one black guy.
Okay. All right. Who's the black guy?
Who's the black guy in The Man Who Fell to Earth?
In The Man Who Fell to Earth. Not Shot Liberty Valance. Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah, but see, now the Showtime series is going to come up because it's going to say Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. You said who's the black guy in The Man Who Fell to Earth?
No, but I got the movie.
Okay.
I have the movie, and it looks like it is starring who is in the cast of this film?
Well, I know it's like David Bowie and a bunch of white people.
Bernie Casey.
All right. Bernie
Mr.
Casey.
There you go.
Bernie Casey. Yeah.
I think Bernie Casey's most underappreciated performance is in the made-for-TV movie Gargoyles, where he plays the head gargoyle, but somebody else does his voice. And if you've never seen that movie, you don't need to see that movie. But in the 70s, it was like one of the scariest made-for-TV movies.
Wait a minute. So you said the most underappreciated performance by Bernie Casey is one where it's not his voice.
It's not his voice, and you can barely tell it's him because he's under so much makeup. But I remember as a kid, like this is gonna sound terrible. The gargoyle had some pretty big lips, and so it was,
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
just kind of knew. You just kind of knew.
You just kind of knew.
I know
Yeah.
them lips.
Right, right, right.
But if you ever, I'm sure gargoyles must be on Tubi or something like that, and it's one of those ones. If you didn't see it in the '70s, there's those made for '70s TV movies, um, and like as a kid, it was terrifying.
Right.
You watch it now, and you're just like, okay, when are we going to get to the good stuff? You were talking about five deadly venoms.
Yes.
The pace of five deadly. Yeah, it's got a pace like that. So
Okay.
but yeah, but it's worth it because it's there should be it'd be a very small category, but there should be black actors under a ton of makeup, so
Mhm.
you can't recognize them necessarily. But like they would be Lou Gossett Jr.
I'm
and
about to say
Enemy
Lou
Mine.
Enemy
Gossett,
Mine,
Enemy
yeah.
Mine.
He's like at the top of the list. But then there would be Roscoe Lee Brown and Logan's Run, Bernie Casey and Gargoyles, and a
That's a good
handful of
pull.
others. And or just, I mean, the black actors voiceover thing is a whole other thing, because you've got
Yeah.
James Earl Jones, but then you've got Keith David and you've got Cree Summer. All these people have done animation things,
Yep.
but
Right.
Yep.
there's always something interesting about when you put a black actor under a ton of makeup.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily know it's them, unless you're, nowadays it's easier to tell. But when you're a kid growing up in the '70s and the '80s, and it was like, wait a minute, why does that voice sound so familiar? Oh, that's Roscoe Lee Brown under a bunch of tinfoil
Yeah.
Right, right, exactly.
Well, you couldn't tell nobody that Panthro wasn't a brother.
I mean, that's what's his name? Who played
It's Earl Hyman.
Yeah.
Earl Hyman, yeah.
Yeah, we all knew.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all knew. All right. Okay. Real quick though,
Mhm.
before we get into our review, we're about to go into our review of Shaft's big score.
Yeah.
I kind of teased it at the beginning that David, you have this secret dream to do a podcast where you are reviewing all of the black films on Tubi.
Yeah. It's more of a delusional, like, whatever. But yeah, no. And I had suggested this to my friends a while back, and none of them wanted to go down that path with me. And it was right around then that I discovered your show, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to do it. Like, it was. I still will watch some stuff on Tubi. I call it video rodeo, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, how long can you stay on this bucking bronco?
Right, right, exactly.
That's true. That's true. I got a few friends that are. Well, you're a big Tubi head now.
I think there's gold on Tubi though.
There is. There
Like,
really is some
yeah.
gold.
So
And when it comes to black film,
exactly.
there's some really fascinating stuff on there. It seems like there's no curation, so there's nobody.
yeah.
No, you have to do that on your own.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, well, this is my rule. If I haven't heard of the movie, and this is the arrogance, this is my ego talking, right? If I haven't heard of the movie, there's something wrong with the movie, and I probably don't need to watch it.
There you go. I like it.
It's if Jean-Claude Lamar is involved with it, like, I don't need to watch this movie.
I want to see how, if I applied David's rule to me, how that would hold up. If I haven't heard of this,
If I haven't heard of it, how good could it possibly be?
There's some stuff on there that I've watched that you probably never have heard of, and because a lot of the stuff is stuff that was direct to video or cable
Mhm.
in the '90s, that like Tubi to me was discovering gold, or fool's gold, I should say,
Mhm.
because there was movies I couldn't remember the title of, and I was like, I remember there was one in particular where I called all my friends. I was like, yo, you remember that movie that it was like the dude, it was like Die Hard in a mall, but it wasn't really a mall. It was like a swap meet, and the dude was like kind of out of shape, and everyone's like, no, never heard of that movie. And I thought, I imagined it,
Right.
And so what I did was I went on to Tubi, I went into, they got the black film section, and I just went title by title till I found it. And I was having to read descriptions because I couldn't remember the title of the movie. And they have it. I haven't watched it again yet because I don't hate myself that much.
Good. That's good. Gotta love
But it's a
yourself.
movie called Hostile Takedown. And
Of
and it's
course.
like the early 2000s, and it's you know, it ain't good. It's not as good as Dead Heist, which if you haven't watched that one yet, that's the one to watch.
I've never heard of these films, so they must be something wrong with it.
I'm just gonna ask: is Billy Blanks involved
I
in
was
any
just
of these
thinking about
films?
Billy Blanks.
No, Billy Blanks has two great movies, and both of those were with Rowdy Roddy Piper. I love both of the movies he did with Rowdy Roddy Piper. One was called Tough and Deadly.
Sure.
Of course it
I
was.
can't
Was
remember
he
the other
tough or
one.
was he deadly?
I don't even remember, man.
Okay.
I don't even remember. But the one Dead Heist is like, you know why you guys got to watch Dead Heist? Because it's like the poor man's Sinners from 20 years ago, right? And it co-stars Big Daddy Kane.
Oh my god!
You should have led with that.
Oh my god!
And
Yo, you
that's
trying to get in
one
here?
where it's best to watch it when you're either sleep deprived or under the influence of something.
Okay.
So,
Oh my god!
Well,
All
you
right.
sold it to me.
You sold Dead Heist.
Yeah, Dead Heist.
Dead Heist with Big Daddy Kane,
Yeah.
the
Big
smooth
Daddy Kane,
operator.
E40 makes an appearance.
E4. Oh my god!
Yeah. But since I just said it's like a poor man's Sinners, it lets you know what I'm saying. You know what's in there, and you know what it's about, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my
Okay.
god!
All right.
Big Daddy Kane, E40, Young MC, Dead Heist.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
All
we'll
right.
check that out. But now we are going to review Shaft's big score.
All right.
Shaft's big score, a 1972 American blaxploitation action crime film starring Richard Roundtree as private detective John Shaft, the second entry in the Shaft film series, with both directed by Gordon Parks, with the screenwriter Ernest Tidyman reprising their roles from their first film. This one also stars Moses Gunn and Drew Bundini Brown.
Yeah. Willie.
And features acting veterans Joseph Mascalo, Julius Harris, and Joe Santos. This film was produced on a budget of just short of $2 million, which was 3 times its predecessor, and features John Shaft as he deals with a $250,000 that was up for grabs from his friend who died in an explosion. And then John Shaft is dating his sister, and his friend's partner needs the $250,000 because he owes a gambling debt. It all boils down to a 20-minute epic chase scene that goes from cars to helicopters to on foot, all in head to toe leather, as only Richard Roundtree can do it. In Shaft's big score, brought to you tonight on the Micheaux Mission by our very special guest, David F. Walker, in the Summer of Comics. David, what say you of Shaft's big score?
All right. Well, I love this movie.
Okay.
Right? I like all 3 Shaft movies, including Shaft in Africa. I think it's got its merits. I argue with people a lot because I think Shaft's big score is better than Shaft.
There it is.
It moves at a faster pace. Everything is bigger. The action is bigger. The character is larger than life. You talk about that 20-minute chase at the end, and it's like, yo, where is this coming from? Right? And even down to Gordon Parks' direction, which is I think is more assured, more self-assured. I think that as a film director, that's his best movie, right? I think Shaft is his second best movie, but then when you watch like Lead Belly or Super Cops, you're kind of like, he didn't quite have it. I don't recall who the director of photography slash cinematographer for Shaft's big score is. I I do believe it's the same person who shot Shaft. Um, but like it's almost amazing to see how much bigger and better, and obviously they had more money,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like this is them breaking out of the limitations of what that whole, Shaft helped usher in what we now call black exploitation, right? It wasn't the first black exploitation movie, it wasn't the first of those 70s black action movies, but it was really the one that sort of solidified that, and Sweetback in 71 solidified where everything was going to go,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And but Shaft's big score to me is like the pinnacle of it. I don't think that you can look at Fred Williamson's movies, you can look at Jim Brown's movies, they're all trying to do what Shaft's big score did more than what Shaft did, right? Um, and but again, people argue with me. They love Shaft more than they love Shaft's big score, but I sometimes think they just love the idea
Yeah.
of Shaft
Mm.
more.
Yeah.
Because this is where I'll go even further. Like as much as I love Isaac Hayes's theme to Shaft, man, O.C. Smith's theme to Shaft,
Mm.
Blowing Your Mind, that song, and it opens, he's in the car, and he's like,
Yeah.
baby,
Yeah.
blow your mind. Like if you didn't, if you had never seen Shaft, you didn't have to see Shaft to see Shaft's big score, right?
Right.
And in that way, it was kind of like a Bond movie. In a lot of other ways, it was like a Bond movie. Um, you didn't you didn't need to see From Russia with Love or Doctor No to see Goldfinger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goldfinger still worked. Shaft's big score still works without Shaft, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself watching. I watch Shaft's big score like maybe once every couple of years, but I don't watch Shaft like when I watch the original Shaft. A lot of fast forwarding, right? I love
Yeah.
the scene
Yeah.
with
It's a slower
Moses
film.
Dunn and Drew Bundini Brown. But that to me, Shaft seems like Gordon Parks really figuring out how to be a filmmaker. Like he'd already
Yes.
done the learning tree, but there's that scene in Shaft's big score that takes place at the nightclub
Mm-hmm.
where you got the go-go dancers
In the
and
fight,
the
yep.
mafia dudes are beating the hell out of Shaft. The way that's shot and edited and the music with that is like that's some of the best 70s. That sequence right there is just beautiful. So I love that movie. And unashamedly so. And I think, you guys were talking about Richard Roundtree in the One Down, Two to Go episode, and trying to figure out what are Roundtree's best movies.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Man Friday? Is it Charlie One Eye? It's Shaft's big score. It's really Shaft's big score. So yeah, that's my feeling on the movie. I'm done. I'm out.
Ah. Wait, Lynn?
It's interesting that you bring up the scene at the club with the go-go dancers and how that is cut and edited with the fight in the alley. And
Mhm.
shout out to Gordon Parks and Ernest Tidyman, and see what happens when you get a real writer writing a screenplay. That the one thing you would never see in a Fred Williamson or Jim Brown movie, you would not see the hero thrown into the trash. You would not
Right.
see them getting totally beat up, taking an L. You would not see that. So shout out to them because Shaft takes an L in that scene. But conversely, I do think that this is Gordon Parks' best performance as a director.
Mhm.
The scene that I shout out is like when the movie starts. I think it's considering how much when you think about Shaft, you think about the music,
Mm-hmm.
you think about the movement, you think about Richard Roundtree and his presence. But this movie starts dead silence.
Yeah.
And it's just this guy at the safe and it's working it, and it's very noir. It's playing with shadows. It's a smoky cigarette. And it's very, very methodical in its movement. That is the scene that I keep coming back to on this movie. And there are other scenes like that. There's a love scene in this film that is at the beginning of it. It's like you saw that in this room, in this apartment, there was like this archway that had like these kind of like these mirrored tiles on it that were kind of like in a cross hatching type of way.
Mm-hmm.
And that love scene, it starts with filming the bodies via the mirrors.
Right.
And I thought
yeah.
that was
Stylized.
it
absolutely.
was so
And very tasteful, very
tasteful, especially with the music that was playing there. That was smartly done. But that scene, that love scene, and going to the fight scene, they both have great elements, but then it loses something. Because that love scene, it started there, and then it just went into like some weird like crossfades and stuff that totally lost the illusion that it had set up. The fight scene that you're talking about, I got what he was going for with the go-go dancers and the fighting, but for some reason he chose to have the go-go dancers in regular speed.
Right, and it was kind of the slow-mo.
The fight in the slow-mo, and that with the music, it didn't work.
Okay.
I knew what he was going for. That along with the editing, it just didn't work for me. And I also saw some of the staging of that fight. You know, this is the early days. You don't really have like, you know, fight choreography like we would have in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
At this point, this is just guys, hey, you're going to throw fists at each other and you're going to throw him, throw this. So the staging of that was a little poor. So I kind of wanted more in that moment. So that kind of like left me cold. I hear you on O.C. Smith at the beginning. It is banging. Gordon Parks does the music for this one, and he says he puts it out there that he was inspired by your man, Miles Davis.
Sure.
You know, for the sound, more of a jazzy, up-tempo sound. And it does work for the movie. It does. Like David said, if you had never heard of Isaac Hayes' theme, you'd have been fine with this music.
Right.
But Isaac Hayes' theme is so iconic. You want to hear it at least a little bit in this movie.
Right.
You know, you're almost kind of like waiting for it, you know, waiting for the moment that is right for, oh, here it is.
Right.
This is the Shaft moment.
Right.
You know?
Right. You assume at the end
something
they're going to drop it in.
It's going to drop, especially after this 20 minutes of him running around, you know, dodging bullets like he's on a G.I. Joe cartoon.
Right.
Like he's James Bond. He's James Bond at that point.
Well, at one point, Wendy asked me, how's the movie going? I said, well, Richard Roundtree is in top to bottom black leather and he's fighting a helicopter. So
yes. And he won.
Yeah.
And he won.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like left me a little cold. And also, I will say this, especially, and I got to give it a demerit, especially because the film was written by Ernest Tiedemann, who wrote the books.
Yes. He's the Shaft guy.
He's the Shaft guy.
Yeah.
This film does big up Shaft to almost James Bondian levels, which is where the movie, the MGM wanted to go with the character. But it does that without giving you anything new about John Shaft. I think the reason why David's comic book Shaft is so well done is because there really is nothing in the movies that really tells you about this character. And I'm not saying we had to have his origin story.
Sure.
But learn just something new about the character. Expand that world a little bit. If you now are saying it's worthy of a sequel, it's worthy of this character that we want to be invested in, just give us a little bit more of this guy.
Well, see, in some ways, I think you're speaking to something that David said about fans of Shaft that are more invested in the idea of Shaft.
Okay.
In my mind, what made this so strong? Because I enjoyed this immensely.
Okay.
And I thought what made this so strong was, and I'll take a different lesson from Shaft, A Complicated Man. I enjoyed the fact that, much like that, it seemed like it was in the tradition of the aforementioned Chester Himes, where you have this character and he is this private detective, this protagonist, but almost a character almost as big as this figure you're following is the environment.
Okay.
And I think what this does better than Shaft is that it allows us as the viewer to know this world. Like you know, as you said, that when the film comes on, the film isn't really about Shaft. The film is about this case.
Yes.
And as you said, this is someone who is, we come to find out fairly quickly, because I think the script is pretty efficient
Yes.
with getting information across, where this is someone who is the numbers runner in Queens.
Yeah.
And his rival has taken him out. But Queens is a different location than Harlem, which we saw in Shaft. And in one of the very, very smart moves that this film makes, as you said, it brings back Moses Gunn as Bumpy with his, with his right-hand man, Willie. And I think they're both used very well. You get this very organic connection to the mafia, sort of Italian mob, which at this point, by 72, you already are moving into the stereotype of the man and the mafia and this, that, and the other. But I thought it treated it really organically. Not for nothing, I love this mobster. Like I thought this was a pretty well...
He was fleshed out.
Yeah, pretty fleshed out mobster. I don't know how much I need to know about John Shaft, because I'll just use your framing against you. How much do you ever really learn about James Bond? This is who he is. This is his agent. This is who he is. And I thought this film worked really well. And what I ended up saying, and I'm going to keep pulling Chester Himes, in my mind, this isn't a sequel to Shaft so much as it's a sequel to Cotton Comes to Harlem. Like, you really do have this 70s hard-boiled environment that you now have this detective moving within. And much like you all, Shaft getting his ass kicked, Shaft, like he really is more in this PI tradition, in this sort of this noir tradition, than the phenomenon of Shaft allowed him to be in. I loved all of the performances. You know me. I immediately said, "Who is that?" when Kathy Emery shows up as Rita.
Yes.
And in a film with Richard Roundtree, who, legitimately, when he's in his pocket, is one of the most beautiful human beings on earth. She's as beautiful as he is.
Yes, she is. Yes,
and the fact that she could, there's a moment towards the end where she's driving and she has on a fur hat.
Yeah.
And he's shooting.
I will say that's a good scene.
And I said, well, hell, this is the movie I want right here.
Yeah.
With these two. And I'm a little annoyed with you, David, because I was keeping my hot take. Like, I was ready to come in with my hot take that I think Shaft's big score is also better than Shaft. Here's the thing, though. When you actually start reading criticism, that's not as hot of a take as you'd think. Like, there's a fair number of critics who have said, as films, Shaft's big score is a better film than Shaft. Like, I think Shaft is the phenomenon. Lynn, I 100% agree with you. I think the biggest misstep is the ignoring of the theme. It's like even if you just get a couple of strains of the orchestra at the beginning, like just did, like that's all you need. But even with that, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I really, really did.
You know, I'll tell you, one of the things I like about the show, and I like the dynamic between the two of you, is that neither of you are wrong and neither of you are right. Like you both raise these really valid. You're like the new version of Siskel and Ebert, right? Where it's like you can't necessarily disagree or agree, but um, because you both raise some really valid points, and you know, I think for me, in my appreciation for black film and in general, but black exploitation in particular,
Mhm.
Mhm.
was like I would watch these movies so like intently, and for one thing, there's so many bad ones, right?
Yeah,
So that when
Yes.
you get
yes.
one that's good, you're almost like, wow, I can't believe I'm seeing something good. And then you start taking picking it apart.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
thing, I think the thing with Shaft and Shaft's Big Score and Shaft in Africa, part of what you're seeing and what a lot of people don't realize is this is the end result of a lot of like conflict behind the scenes, right?
Sure.
So, you know, Tidyman was he had problems with the first movie. Him
Mhm.
and Gordon Parks didn't agree on a lot of things with the first movie. And he wrote the second movie. I don't know how many rewrites were done by other writers. I'd have to sit down and do the research on that. But you know, Tidyman is out of the picture by Shaft in Africa, and
Right.
so
Mm.
is Gordon Parks. And you see MGM trying to do something. They're trying to replicate the James Bond
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And while I enjoy Shaft in Africa for what it is, what I really appreciate about Shaft's Big Score, um, and I was joking again before we went live, like I've been watching a lot of Kojak recently,
Mhm.
and and during the pandemic, I had gotten into watching a lot of old 70s detective TV shows, whether it was Starsky and Hutch or Columbo, both private detectives and police detectives. And when you watch Shaft's Big Score, more so than Shaft, you really see like what's about to come in a lot of the TV stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Shaft's Big Score is essentially like has a lot of the trappings of say an episode of Kojak, only without Kojak, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
It's you watch these and because I become obsessed with Kojak right now. Me and one of my best friends get together every Saturday and we debrief over the episodes we've watched, right?
Oh my
Um,
God.
and
One of
and
us.
yeah,
Yeah.
and what you see in a show like Kojak is the show is about Kojak and the police, but you know that there's another story there, and you're only
Mhm.
Mhm.
seeing bits and pieces of that other story. And that's sort of what Shaft's Big Score reminds me of now as I'm seeing it. It's like, oh, you're seeing that other story, right? Because on a show like Kojak, Moses Gunn would only be on it for like 5 minutes total.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, and 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 I think that there's like again, Shaft's Big Score is just a bigger movie, and so we're seeing more things. Um, and but at the same time, we couldn't have gotten there without the first Shaft
Of
movie, right?
course.
So it's this it's not like I hate the first one because I do love it, you know. Uh, and I especially love Moses Gunn and Drew Bundini Brown in it. Um, and what I think more than anything is that you know Gordon Parks Sr., who directed the first two Shaft movies, he wasn't the only black director during the 70s. There was a handful of others. And I'm not going to go so far as to say he was the best of the black directors, but you could tell he really cared. He
Right.
was really trying to do something. He was trying to do something really artistic. And and I feel like Shaft's Big Score was him. They gave him more the keys to the kingdom
Yeah.
based on the success of Shaft, right?
Yeah.
I also think what's really similar, and I don't know if you have done this, is Gordon's War, directed by Ossie Davis,
Not
compared to
yet.
Cotton Comes to Harlem,
Mhm.
also directed by Ossie Davis. And and you see that a similar dynamic there, right? You see there's a more assured filmmaker there. And like I don't neither of you have probably ever seen Countdown at Cusini, which is the movie Ossie Davis did in between um, Cotton Comes to Harlem and Gordon's War, because it's you have to go to UCLA to see it in the special archives, and it's like, um, when you watch when you for me, when I watch Gordon's War, I see, oh, this dude came into his own here, right? Like
Okay.
I
Mhm.
love Cotton Comes to Harlem, but Cotton Comes to Harlem and Shaft are similar in that they're I'm not going to say they're exploring new territory, but they're exploring territory that hadn't been explored since, like, say, the 30s or 40s with
Right.
the Black
Yeah.
Past movies. It's a new spin on that, but then the movies that followed 72, 73, 74 were filmmakers getting to build on the promise of
Right.
the stuff that we saw in decades earlier. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people don't do is when they're looking at black film is contextualizing it with what came before
Yeah.
and
Right.
understanding that, you know, without Jim Brown in the split in 68, you're never going to get Jim Brown in Slaughter or
Right.
Slaughter's Big Ripoff, right? It one thing leads to another. Um, but yeah, but Shaft's big score, like everything you're saying about some of the downsides to it are true. But man, that movie's just fun.
Yeah.
It's like when he's
Yeah.
got the machine gun at the or is it machine gun at the end when he's running through the shipyards and the
That's a
helicopter.
great scene.
Yeah.
It is. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous,
Yes.
and it's here's what I put forth. It's only ridiculous because John Shaft is played by Richard Roundtree, black man. If you saw Sean Connery or Roger Moore doing this, we don't think it's ridiculous. It's James Bond. It's
Right.
okay, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
and Shaft's big score to me is like because the one black exploitation movie that nobody talks about as being a black exploitation movie, there's like three of them, but one of them is Live and Let Die, the James
Yes.
Bond.
We that's because we haven't talked about it on camera.
Yes. But it is like when you watch Shaft's big score and
Mhm.
then you watch Live and Let Die, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing. So that over the top hyperbolic quality that Shaft's big score has, um, and I'll say this too. This is a theory that I have because they spent more money on Shaft's big score and then Shaft in Africa than they spent on Shaft. I think that that's in some ways what killed the franchise, right?
Yeah.
Because they spent too much money and then the movies stopped making as much money.
Yeah.
And then you get the TV show. The TV show would have been better if the movies had spent less money and made more money, if that makes sense. It's the Shaft TV show, and I'm not saying this in a way that's meant to sound racist or anything, but the Shaft TV show is like the Planet of the Apes TV show. It's
Mhm.
like they were tired of spending money on the movies, and so you get this watered down thing. And the Planet of the Apes TV show is like, what am I watching? Like, I love, you know.
Right. Right. I don't want to lose this. Speaking of the procedurals, and as you can tell, the two Chester Himes adaptations from the 70s were on my mind this afternoon. Something we talked about with Come Back Charleston Blue is you get this really complicated relationship between the black protagonist, the black hero, but instead of this sort of stodgy white captain and white policeman, you now have a black captain.
Yeah.
And we talked about it when we talked about Come Back Charleston Blue, that we wanted more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I love Julius Lester
Oh
in
yeah.
this
Harris,
movie
Julius Harris,
as
yeah.
Captain Bowen.
Oh, yeah.
And this, like that dynamic between Shaft as, Shaft, go get my coffee. I want it black.
Yeah.
But now the authority figure is also black.
Mm-hmm.
I thought worked really, really well. And in my mind, the whole film could have been Shaft going back and forth between Julius Lester and Moses
And
Gunn.
Moses Gunn. Yes.
Yeah.
And just trying to negotiate this space. So that was something else I thought that was really strong in this film.
And getting him in that part, I mean, he goes back to Nothing But a Man.
Yeah,
Yep.
oh yeah.
you know, phenomenal, and he was always an actor that was never really used as well as he could be.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I think that is it's a shame that the Shaft movies and the Shaft TV show never got the opportunity to grow and evolve the way they could have.
Yeah.
And going back to one of the things that I did when I was writing the comics was I went back to the novels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the the movie, I talk about this all the time, right? Adapting a novel into a movie is not an easy thing, and you have to make decisions about what gets left out and what gets um put in. And the problem was that the decisions that were made in the first Shaft movie, the things to leave out, were the things that would have made him, I think, as a film character, would have given him more legs, more longevity. And um the fact that he was a Vietnam vet, the fact that he was
Mm-hmm.
an ex-gang member, all
Mm-hmm.
these sort of things that were all left out that I put into the comics, because that was when I read Ernest Tidyman's first novel. I was like, yo, like, I'd seen the movie first. I'd seen it as a kid. And then I read the book, and it was one of those moments where, when you read the book after you see the movie and you're like, why did they leave this out? Why did
Yeah.
they leave that
Mm-hmm.
out? And, he, there was beef between Parks and Tidyman, because Tidyman never wanted Shaft to have a mustache.
Right.
And in the books, he goes out of his way to make sure Shaft doesn't have a mustache. And it's funny because, as much as we look at Richard Roundtree in that part, and he has come to embody Shaft so much so that it was the detriment to the rest of his career, because he was
Yeah.
always sort of typecast.
Typecast.
But there's two actors that were, one who was better suited physically to
I was
play
about
Shaft,
to ask you about this.
and then there's one who's better suited physically, but also as an actor, right? So purely looks, just looks, Tony King
I was
is
about.
John Shaft.
That's right.
Okay, and
Hmm.
not the best actor, but I love him in, like, Report to the Commissioner and everything he's in.
Okay.
Sparkle.
Yeah.
He's Sparkle
Mhm.
and Hell Up in Harlem, and he has a presence,
He does.
but his skills as an actor, I would say, were more limited than
Richard
Richard
Roundtree.
Roundtree's.
Yeah.
The actor who was, in a lot of ways, I think, born to play Shaft, and to a certain extent did play him, is Robert Hooks.
Mm.
Robert Hooks is who should have been Shaft. And every time I watch Trouble Man, I think to myself, because Trouble Man is Robert D.F. Black co-wrote the Shaft screenplay,
Mm-hmm.
and then he wrote Trouble Man. And when you look at it, oh, Trouble Man is just Shaft in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and I love Trouble Man. I love the soundtrack. Marvin Gaye's soundtrack is like, oh my god. And there's something about the way Robert Hooks just moves differently. He has a different physicality. I think that Roundtree is better looking,
Yes.
but Robert Hooks just looks tough and mean. And when you read Tidyman's books, Richard Roundtree is Shaft in the movies. Robert Hooks is the Shaft from the books, right?
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you,
Yeah.
because as you you just said it. You said that. I don't know if you said this was factual or this is just sort of rumor, that Tidyman thought that Richard Roundtree was too pretty, basically.
Yes.
And do you think? Well, first a correction. I think we said Julius Lester. We
You
meant
did. It's Julius Harris.
Julius
Harris,
Harris.
yeah.
Thank you, Mike Dennis.
Thank you, Mike Dennis. Do you think?
Oh, Mike Dennis, real black. We love you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Do you think Tidyman wrote this script differently with Richard Roundtree in mind, though?
That's a good
for a big
question.
score.
Yeah.
I would have to go back through all my research and stuff. I mean, he fell out with MGM and the film people really quickly, and so I think a lot of stuff he was doing was either sort of mercenary for the money or out of spite to try to prove them wrong, right?
Right.
And I feel like Shaft, in my mind, he was just never like. Again, I read the first book after I'd seen the movie, and was always just sort of like why did they do that? Why did they have, and there's and here's the interesting thing too is like every black actor was up for Shaft, right?
Mm-hmm.
James Earl Jones was up for the part, and there's so many actors that were up for it, and this is where I think there's this split between the books, which most people haven't read, and then
Mhm.
the movies. And when you look at the movies, Gordon Parks gets all the credit,
Yeah.
really
Right.
gets way more credit than Tidyman gets. And as a writer, personally, that's where like sort of it kind of sticks in my craw. It's like a blade in between my ribs because it's like, well, without Tidyman's book, there wouldn't have been the
Yeah.
movie, right? And so I can tell you this: I've had this conversation now multiple times over the last 10 years of like how do you make Shaft work on screen again, right?
Right.
And we were having these conversations before that Tim Story movie got made, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like somebody decided that the Tim Story version was a better thing than what I was proposing. And I'd put together a pitch that had gone to HBO Max,
Oh,
and they were it was like let's go raw and gritty, and let's get I was pushing. There was two or three actors at the time then, and I can't remember the actor's name, but he was on The Wire. He played Chris Partlow, um and he was who I wanted
whoa.
like
Oh,
10
that's
years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Nigerian brother.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Nigerian
yeah,
brother.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then about 2 years ago, after the that last version tanked, I got some calls from people that were like, "Oh, we need to regroup and fix Shaft." And I was like, "Okay, but first go get John Boyega." Like John Boyega is Shaft, right?
Okay.
Um, because, and that's the thing, Richard Roundtree was really young when he made these movies, but he don't look young,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Right.
Boyega, I didn't think Boyega was right for the part till I saw they clone Tyrone, and then I was like, "Oh no, this is the dude.
Right.
He's got it, right." Idris Elba has it too, but Idris Elba is a little bit older,
Yeah, he's
and
older.
and I'd
Right.
love to see Shaft played as that guy who's like 6, 7 years out of the military, still in his 20s, and still sort of like brash and not quite an adult. I'd like to see him played the way Daniel Craig played James Bond, right?
Right. Of course.
Like
Of
a little
course.
bit tougher, and that's how I tried to write him in the comics, and yeah, I don't know, man. At this
Well,
point,
the
I've
Okay,
given
funny.
up.
just real quick, just to you mentioned Chris Partlow from
Mm-hmm.
the Wire, played by Akinabe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I asked because I do think there is a subtle difference in Shaft as a ladies' man in both. Like I think in the first film, John Shaft is actually charming.
yeah,
Like you understand why people, but in Shaft's Big Score, he really is more of a pretty pony.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Like he doesn't have to say anything,
Yeah.
and obviously that makes sense. But I did notice, and knowing what you said about Ernest Tidyman's resistance,
yeah,
and I wondered if that was a little subtle commentary. It's like, okay, well, you want me to be the pretty pony, I'm going to write him like the pretty pony.
Which is what I think he pretty much is in this film. I think he pretty much is
yeah,
just there for other people. Like that's why Julius Harris and Moses Gunn pop so much even more in this movie.
Yeah,
Because Shaft is kind of like just like the straight man
yeah,
in this movie, and which is fine, but I still think that like I just wanted a little bit more, a little window
right.
into like okay, why you only wear leather?
Look, I think at this point,
I mean, the man put on a leather coat on top of his leather jacket
look,
with a turtleneck,
I think in a lot of ways,
and then he said it's hot.
I think in a lot of ways, Shaft's Big Score almost has to run from Shaft. Like Shaft, as we've been talking about it, looms so large that you almost have to downplay him a bit.
Mm.
It's like the legend of Shaft. Like, I love what you said, David, about people who, when you say, I think Shaft's big score is better than Shaft, and of course people huff and puff, but a lot of times we're just so enamored with the idea of Shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again, when's the last time you watched from beginning to end the film Shaft? When's the last time you watched it, Lynn?
For episode 300 of the Micheaux Mission.
Exactly. So
it's interesting to me because when we go, this is the other thing, right? This all of these movies came out at a time when movies went to the theater, and sometimes they would play for months. if not a year
They would
or more.
stay in
Yeah, oh,
there.
yeah.
That's true.
Okay. Then some were anointed with the opportunity to play regularly on TV. The
Mhm.
James Bond movies are prime examples of that. 10 Commandments, Gone with the Wind. Some of these movies would be revived and they would play in double features, but they were, in a lot of ways, films were disposable for a very long time, right?
Mhm.
You saw them once, then maybe you get another opportunity to see them a few years later,
Yeah.
either on
There's
TV
no
or rerun.
home market.
But home video and cable changed, like the way we can revisit movies.
Yeah.
And so nobody was really thinking too seriously about the continuity of recurring characters, whether it was Shaft. James Bond thought about it a little bit, but you watch like those Universal horror movies, and a lot of them don't make any sense because nobody was keeping track of it. And I think that's we have to, when we start, we can talk about these movies till we're blue in the face, but it's not like there's like these big committees like at Marvel trying to make sure that like it's going to be interesting to see how they retrofit Fantastic Four into the MCU
Right.
when the MCU starts out and there were no superheroes, right? So and that's part of the reason I love watching these movies, because it's like you're seeing like the groundwork that's going to be laid 20, 30 years later in cinema, but you're watching, like, you're just watching movies for the sake of movies or for the sake of money, because that's what they just want to make money off
Mhm.
these things.
That's
So,
right.
but I love both of them. I love all three of them. I don't need to watch them regularly, although I do watch Shaft's big score more often than the other two. And I think that I like the books and I like the movies, and I can like them individually and together.
Sure.
You mentioned Shaft Among the Jews, and Shaft Among the Jews wasn't originally a Shaft novel. It was a whole other thing, and then something happened with Tidyman and MGM, and he ended up getting the publishing rights, and they went on to make the movies. And so he took this existing novel he'd written, and he retrofitted it and turned it into a Shaft book
Look.
just to get even with MGM. And then there were 7 books total, but of the 7, Tidyman actually only wrote 4 of them, and the others were written by a ghostwriter, and then his name was
interesting.
slapped on it.
That's interesting.
And Shaft's big score is one of the better of the book sequels. Shaft Among the Jews is fun, but it's like, wow, this is kind of batshit crazy. And then you find out it wasn't meant to be a Shaft book. And then the other ones, the ones that were written by ghostwriters, most of them it's diminishing returns. And it's a shame, because especially with the TV show, because now as I'm sitting back watching Kojak and
Right.
watched all these old episodes of Columbo, like those shows are like,
Columbo.
first off, at some point, since you guys are doing this show, I just may do a podcast on Black actors showing up in 70s TV, right?
should.
Yes, you should.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Kojak has got G2 Kumbuka has been in 2 episodes so far. Janae Dubois was in an episode. God, who else? And Roger Robinson has a recurring role, but like G2 Kumbuka shows up in an episode, and he's like one of my favorite actors of all time, right? And so me and my boy, who we do these Kojak breakdowns, it's like he's episodes ahead of me, and he'll text me and he's like, Roger E. Mosley's in this episode. And it's like I'm not skipping them. I'm going in order. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
Roger E. Mosley. It's been an interesting thing, and I mean, I just love the watching this stuff and figuring out who actors are um and I don't know because I haven't listened to all you guys are in 400 some odd episodes, so I've got a ways to go to catch up. So I don't know if you've discovered this. I want to share this with you. Is uh is this idea, and this is why one down, two to go. Another reason why one down, two to go fails miserably, right?
Okay.
It's not just Eddie Murphy. It's not just stir crazy. It's that in the early 80s, Hollywood didn't know what to do with black folks,
Nope.
right?
Yep.
They were trying to push us to the side. But what you got was in between 80 and say 83-ish, you got what I called the black movie within the bigger movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the prime example of that is Ragtime.
Right.
Ragtime
Yeah.
is it has you could cut all the white characters out and still have this compelling movie. Coppola's Cotton Club is similar but not as good.
Yeah.
And you see this if you're really looking, you're seeing this evolution. They're trying to figure out what to do with black actors. They're
Right.
trying to figure out how to make money off of
Yeah.
the audience, right? And so you get a movie like Robert Redford's Brubaker, and like most of the supporting cast is like some of the best black actors you could possibly hope to gather in one place, right? And and uh and then you've got Fred Williamson and these guys trying to make this other movie, right?
Yeah.
They're Hollywood's trying to figure out what to do. It's not that they care about black actors or black
Yeah.
character. They just care about the money that the black audience can
Right.
bring, right?
Right.
And Stir Crazy proved you could just put a black actor and a white actor together and make a ton of money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that that's a
Stir Crazy.
fascinating thing to look at, and I started thinking about it more after the one down, two to go episode, because it was like that's also what was going on, right?
Yeah.
Where Lou Gossett won his Oscar for Officer and a Gentleman, like what 2-3 years after one down, two to go. It was 82, 83, somewhere in there, and it was like, come on, like this. There weren't great. There was a weird sort of time, but what you were getting was leading up to Eddie Murphy, was leading up to Whoopi Goldberg and Color Purple, was like you had Joe Morton and Brother from Another Planet.
Yeah.
There was so much stuff. And then you said something on that episode about a soldier's story, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and this is a horrible thing to say. Richard Roundtree can't compete with any of those actors
No.
in a soldier's story.
No.
You know, Art J. Evans, come on. You
Yep.
know, Adolph Caesar, who was like 25 when he made that. I mean, he was so young. He's Adolph Caesar and Whitman Mayo are like the oldest looking young men. They're like the Wilford Brimley of black actors, you know. So,
But you're right, because like, and then we really got to go because we're running a little late. But A Soldier Story is a perfect film,
yeah,
for somebody like Richard Roundtree to just
To have been in, but he could not again.
couldn't find a lane.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't have played the other sergeant that told Sergeant Waters that's enough, because you would not buy them as equals.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a shame. But Shaft's big score.
Yeah.
That is. It sounds like I know you're a stickler for structure. Vincent.
Absolutely. It's what separates us from the animals.
David, would you recommend that people see Shaft's big score?
yes, I would.
Vincent?
I would. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, 2 out of 3 of us think that this is a better film than Shaft.
Very true.
Mm.
All right. And look. Sure. Go see Shaft's big score. That's 3 for 3.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Go see Shaft's big score. And while you're at it, if you're fucking around in your bookstores, look for David F. Walker, all of his works, Bitter Root.
Yeah.
There are 3 trade paperbacks, I believe.
I think 3.
3,
There's-
yeah. The fourth one will be out in the fall.
All right.
That'll be the next movement.
Yep, the next movement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank
I
you very
was
much.
so hoping you and Sanford would do, like, you could tell that this could have been a generational thing, and then it was a generational thing, and I said, I'm so happy it's a generational thing.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I read it in trades.
I love the essays in the back too, by the
Thank
way.
you. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right.
You done?
I am.
Because he won't let you go.
I know.
David, if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to find out all the fabulous things that you are doing and be a part of, they can get updates on the Bobby Hart book coming out. Where should they go?
Best place right now is on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/David F. Walker. You can sign up for free as well. There's paid tiers, but that's where I'm focusing most of my energy because Instagram and Facebook just want to take money from you, and I'm just trying to make some money. So that's the best place to find me. And then I'm on Instagram at David F. Walker, which I'm not using as much as I used to, because I'm focusing on just making the work as opposed to just talking about it.
No, that's right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, David. Thank
you.
And in case you don't know it, you are already booked for when we do Shaft in Africa.
Okay. Okay. Or any Fred Williamson movie. Look, whenever you guys need someone to come in, just let me know. I'll talk about anything. So
Okay.
I love the show so much, and it really is like, because also what you're doing is really important, right? It's this it's preserving history, it's talking about it, but it's not in a boring, stodgy way. So, again, like you need me for something, you know how to find me.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
That.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We gonna let you go, David, because it's already late.
Yeah.
As we sign off and tell everyone about our next guest next week here in the Summer of Comics. It is a very special episode next week. But before we do, David, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. Take care.
I see you there. I see he's a Trekkie.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I see.
He's a Trekkie. I like that. All right. If you want to have all of your thoughts, share your thoughts with us, please email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. The Micheaux Mission is a proud member of The Podglomerate. ThePodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work, just like ours, which streams every Tuesday night live at 7 p.m. from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. If you want to book yourself in one of the fabulous studios that they have here, hey, just go to their website, youngjunk.com. The Micheaux Mission is also available as a podcast wherever you find podcasts. That means it's on Apple, that means it's on Spotify, and that means it's on YouTube, where you can subscribe and hit the bell and be notified of when we go live and when we put up all of our new videos. Next week, here on the Micheaux Mission, the Summer of Comics continues, but with a little bit of a curve, as we're going to comics, comedy. And actually, we're talking about these great cultural critics and essayists.
Absolutely.
We have one of the best around joining us next week. Watch Vincent fangirl all over again.
Oh, yeah. Big fan of Damon
Next
Young.
week for Damon Young, who will join us here on the Micheaux Mission as we review not one, but 2 films next week. We will be reviewing Undercover Brother, as well as, okay, I memorized the title, and now I can't get past Don't Be a Menace While Drinking Your Juice.
While drinking in South Central.
In South Central.
Yes.
That's it.
I believe so.
Okay. Both those movies next week here on the Micheaux Mission, because we're doing it live next week. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.
Young John!